Welcome back to another episode of Commercial Real Estate Secrets. I'm your host, Austin here. And today our guest is Dr. Saam Zarrabi. He's the founder and CEO of Rodeo Dental. They've been in business since 2009, and they'll be at 40 locations by the end of the year with a plan for much more growth very quickly. So, Dr. Saam, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. How's it going today?
Good morning, Austin. Thanks for having me, man. And thanks for all the good work you're doing for the industry, both in dentistry and real estate. I love it. You got some awesome guests. So honored to be here.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, so I'd love to talk about your story and tell people, it's just one of those things. I like to I say this a lot, but from the outside looking in, somebody might look at you and think, oh, like, CEO, like that the gap between where they are and where you are just seems so unattainable. But we're all people, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. And so it's just like when you get to unpack and unfold that story, a lot of times there's ways that people can see, oh, this is the path that they took, and it's inspirational to see, well, I might be able to take that path too. So for you, what was it childhood like? What was it like growing up? And did you know that this is what you wanted to do early on?
Yeah, great question. So grew up in Southern California, San Fernando Valley, and parents got divorced at a young age. Single mom for a little while, then got married to my stepdad, who happened to be a dentist.
Ah,
And so really started to grow up around dentistry at a young age, hang out at the practice, watch my stepdad work. He was awesome with his patients, legendary, still practices in Southern California for over 40 years.
wow.
And people go to see him just for him. I mean, he's super nice and just one of the best ever. And so got exposed to dentistry and really grew up around healthcare and liked it a lot. Went to college at UCLA, but I always had a drive for the spirit of entrepreneurship, and so started a business while I was in college.
Oh, nice.
Where we were doing event production and creating a social media site. It was like Web 1.0 in the late 90s, and uh,
That's
tried it,
cool.
got fired up, got some friends and family to put some funds in, and ultimately failed. That's another
Really?
story for another podcast.
Did you
But yeah,
did you have a lot of employees at the time?
we had about 10.
Wow.
We actually ended up throwing a concert or a few concerts in throughout the country. We had in the Midwest, we threw like Ludacris, Mystical, and like the
No
Lower
way.
Shore. Yeah, we had fun. I mean, we got pretty good size. Learned a lot from the event production side, and how to throw a concert of about 8 to 10,000 people in a 90-day period. You learn a lot doing that
Yeah.
experience. And so we threw our first couple, and ultimately break even or lost money on them.
Wow.
And yeah, and so we at the age of about 20, I quickly learned what the real world was like, and and that failure, I will say, was one of the greatest gifts I've ever gotten, going through that experience, candidly.
That was going to be my question is, obviously throwing concerts and dentistry don't have a whole lot in common, but what do you think were like your biggest lessons that you're able to take with you to your next endeavor?
Yeah, you know what's cool is I actually dropped out of UCLA for about 2 years, and all my other friends were going into medicine and dentistry, and um, my parents supported me, even though my mom was like, "What are you doing with your life?" And I was like, "I'm gonna go try this," because we had a great vision, and that was key. I think we had an awesome vision. I still have the business plan today, and it was a sort of a pre-hybrid of YouTube and Facebook, and we're going to use events to
Oh,
launch
cool.
it. So great idea, poor execution,
Mm,
right? And we didn't have systems and things, and so ultimately the business failed, and came back to college from that experience. And at that point, I was already starting the pre-dental path, and I was like, okay, this is something that I've always enjoyed. I like dentistry, I like serving patients and healthcare. And you still have the spirit of entrepreneurship built into building your dental practice and growing it. And so let me get back to that line. And so I found a mentor at that time when I came back to college, who is still a mentor of mine, Dr. Bill Dorfman, out of Beverly Hills. He had started Discus Dental and Zoom. He was had one of the top practices in Beverly Hills, serving all the celebrities, and got to see a different side of dentistry.
Mm.
He really had brought out entrepreneurship in dentistry, and luckily I had the ability to shadow him and work alongside him, and learned a lot for those 3-4 years, and helped me get back on path to getting back into dental school. And so ultimately got into Pacific in San Francisco,
Nice.
moved up there, and that's where I ultimately met in my classmates, both my two partners, Dr. Mansour and Dagoni, and also my future fiance and wife now, Dr. Barsodi, now Zarabi. So loved it. My experience there. Interestingly, 2008 happens, and that's when we were graduating, which was also the financial crisis. And
Right.
that's, what a great time to graduate school and try to find a job. And so if you remember back then, that summer was pretty chaotic. Banks were collapsing, and it was
Yeah.
very
Everybody was saying, well, I was in college at the time, and everybody was saying, stay in
yeah.
school, don't get out. Like,
Yeah.
there's no jobs out here.
Right. I did not want to stay in school another year because that would have cost me a lot of money.
Right. You're
Staying
paying
in
a little
dental
bit more than I
school.
was.
Yeah. But I would have if I could. And honestly, came out looking for a job. California was in chaos. My friend in Texas, my old roommate from college, said, "Hey, come out to Texas. There's some jobs out here,
Ah,
and check it out." So we said, "Hey, let me check out." My wife and I were dating at the time. Hey, let's go to Texas. When dust settles, maybe we'll come back to the West Coast. But cost of living's lower. There's jobs. Let's do it. So came out. Never forget. It was that right after the 4th of July, 2008. I got my first job coming out, and I pull up to it, and I will tell you, it was not what I expected it to be. Let's just say, I see this practice. The building was run down. The patients were unhappy. Lobby was the whole office was dilapidated. The owner was using who knows equipment from where. It was a bad
so is the
operation.
entrepreneurial side of you just going like all your wheels are spinning at this stage?
It was. Well, first it was more shock and awe, and then it was like, okay, how can this be the best here in the community? It was an underserved part of the community, and they were just really delivering poor service.
Mm.
Cockroaches on the ground. I mean, I'll never forget the thing that really,
Wow.
yeah,
Cockroaches.
but
I
the
can't
thing
believe they
that
had
really
any
was
patience.
nuts, I was working on a patient one day. It was raining. I was 2 weeks in. My patient's mouth's open, and stuff starts hitting us as it's working. It's raining outside. Tar was falling from the ceiling and hitting us.
Well, I thought you were gonna say cockroaches, but that's still
It could
pretty
have
bad.
been. It felt like it. And I quit. I said, keep the paycheck. I'm out of here.
No way.
And, yeah, and did not look back.
Wow.
So now I was jobless in Texas during the financial crisis. And my partner, Dr. K, at the time, he was opening up a practice uh, on his own in Fort Worth. And I said, hey, look, I've got some great ideas. I may not have the financial backing, but I know I can bring to the table both from a service standpoint and some ideas that where we can deliver something here to the community that can be so much better than what we've seen. And so we did that. We started our first location that fall of '09. It was called Real Smiles, and it was sort of your cookie cutter dental practice. We learned a lot that first year. We started building our systems out, and really started to look at how we can bring in the rodeo model into it. And so fast forward a year, 2009, we had a lot of success. The community loves us, ultra focused on patient experience and service, but we wanted to do something bigger. And so that fall of 2009, we opened our first Rodeo Dental. It was by the famous Rodeo Stockyards in Fort Worth. So if you've ever been out there, anybody on the podcast has been out to Fort Worth, the Stockyards. It's been around for hundreds of years, and famous rodeo comes through there every year. It
Ah,
reminded me of like Frontierland at Disneyland. And so we wanted to capture that essence. We built the first rodeo, big lobby, movie theater, play gym, the whole
movie
experience.
theater. Interesting.
Yeah, we really did it. And then from there, we wanted to also incorporate specialties. So we had traditionally dentistry is sort of broken apart, like my dad's practice, he tends
General
to,
practice and then
yes, if
endodontics
you
and
need
everything's all
braces, you go
separate.
that way. Yeah, you go see my buddy up the street. Instead, we wanted to bring it all under one roof. So we
Mm.
brought in pedo, ortho under this big environment in a retail commercial shopping center environment, not a medical building, but we wanted to be in a retail space.
So how were you able to do that? Because I
Yeah.
know we're in the financial crisis right now. Money is a little bit tight. And then I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the reasons that dental is separated like that is because of the cost of like doing everything in-house is really great. You got to have more square footage, you got to have
Yep.
more associates. Like how were you able to pull that off during that time frame?
Yeah, so great question. In fact, one of the things that brought us together, it's like what's the saying, from sort of a crisis, sometimes something emerges that's,
Mm.
you know, in this case, a diamond for us, which was, um, we had to come together as a partnership to be able to go to the bank and they wouldn't qualify a single dentist to get a loan that would even pay for uh, the practice of that size, right?
Oh,
So by coming together as two dentists or three, we can then have the power with the bank to actually get a loan of the size we needed. And so, by default, we almost had to build the group practice just to survive and build the thing in general. So we built that first one by going to the bank together with my partner and I. We built that first one in 2009. Fast forward about a year, we brought on our pediatric dental partner. Went to the bank again. We went down to South Texas. 2011, we opened our third, fourth, fifth, and sixth location,
wow.
3 months apart each. My wife was working with us as well, and so we moved down there. We were sort of road warriors. Partners came in, and the group practice really started from that point. And today, as of today, we've got over 30 locations. We'll be at 40 by the end of this year.
Wow.
Got about 800 employees, 120 plus providers across the network, and our claim to fame is over 50,000 five-star Google and Facebook reviews,
Wow.
which is a record in dentistry.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So, and what's the square footage size now?
Yeah, every office we build is about 5 to 7,000 square feet. Really, that
So about double the size of an average practice, right?
absolutely yes, and we need the ops. We have typically two or three general doctors working, and then we'll have a rotating specialists. So we'll have pediatric dentistry, orthodontics, oral surgery, implants, prosthodontics, and then even general anesthesia rotate through every week.
Wow, that's cool. Um, so yeah, let's talk about the site selection because it
Yeah,
sounds like
yeah.
that was kind of what you guys did early on, and it sounds like you did it really well based on the success. So, during this time frame, you're looking, you wanted to go retail, which is, I mean, we really focus and encourage a lot of people to go retail because most of the time, you just can't make up for that in terms of like, the ad spend, like digital marketing, direct mailers, whatever it is, like the exposure that you get in terms of marketing to go retail, it's just hard to compensate for that, through other marketing platforms. So what was it like? What were you guys looking for?
Yeah, one big anchored grocery stores we really loved because there's a frequency or a cadence that the customer is seeing, even maybe more so than a Walmart typically. So big anchor grocery stores that were busy, newer and older developments both worked. But specifically, that will be what we're looking for. And then a specific size of the zip code as well was important. And then from there, really, those two things come together, and across the different levels of targeted income, we the brand serves really well. We've done great
Mm.
in
Yeah,
both
so that's
both
yeah,
areas.
that's I think that is really important too. Like finding those big grocery stores, like finding those big anchor tenants, because you can have other anchor tenants like that are massive, like Home Depot or sometimes a movie theater or whatever. But like really, grocery stores just drive so much traffic, and they're so frequent. Like people are coming there so frequently. So are you consistently putting
Yep.
all of your stores as close in the close proximity as you can to grocery stores? Are you putting in the actual like plazas that the grocery stores are in, or they just you want it to be pretty close by?
We've had success with both. Preferably, if we can be inside the plaza, great. But we've got practices that are across the street or even a block away and still do really well. But preference, I would say, would be if we can be in the center itself. Seems to work really well for us. More parking It just provides a better experience. Parents can get other stuff done in the center while they're there. So there's just a convenience factor. And look, we're in a patient-centric environment across all healthcare. I think that
Mhm.
was what we saw as a major shift uh, post financial crisis, and maybe the timing. But I think you just saw with the advent of social media, reviews, the patients now have so many choices, the speed of information. They can go on their phone and within 5 seconds call 5 different dentists. And so we have to
Right.
deliver to their demands. Previously, in my dad's era, my stepdad's era, it was based on their schedule, Monday through Thursday. They can work and then Friday play golf or do whatever they want on the weekends. And patients had to follow that because that's just the way it was, their name on the door. In today's world, everything is based on what the patient's demands are, and we have to rise up to meet those demands.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like that's a key strategy, is just getting the Google reviews high enough that it pops up on their site or when they're searching for it.
I think the key strategy is delivering excellent service. At the end of the day, you can get all the good reviews, right? But if you're not delivering, they're not coming back. They're going to go somewhere else, right? Convenience of hours too, right? Are you staying late into the evenings that aligns with after school and things like that? Weekends, Saturday appointments. I think those are really important factors to really make sure we're delivering at a high level.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Um, so yeah, a lot of important strategies there. I mean, picking the good anchor tenants,
Yep.
finding good zip codes, like you mentioned. Is your demographic, are you focused on like more higher income or more middle income or more lower income? How would you classify that?
Yeah, we one of the things we've done is, and our mission is to give every family access to high-end dental care. And so one of the things we've done is specifically when we started the brand, we had a commitment to delivering high-end care in underserved communities, and we continue to
Hmm.
do that in a great way. And even as of recently as this year, we got certified as a certified B Corp, which is awesome. I'm happy to talk about that
An E
too.
Corp, like is that a
B
where you
Corp.
sell your shares back to the employees?
No, 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 no. When
Oh,
you
that's an
so
ESOP. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, that's an ESOP. So B Corp is a company called B Labs, which if you look them up, they work with companies, all industries around the world. There's about 3,800 companies around the world that have gotten this certification. Ben and Jerry's being one,
Oh,
Patagonia, for example. And you get measured based on a series of assessments in the company, from your culture, your delivery on service, your wages to employees,
hmm,
your scoring in DEI, and all these different factors. And so if you get a score of 80 or above, you get this certification as a certified B Corp. And so for us, that was sort of the stamp of excellence that we've been achieving based on the culture of the company and what we've delivered. So we will continue to serve our underserved communities and do that in a great way. But we've had some practices that we've built in some of the higher end shopping centers, like in Houston, our Cypress location, for example, and now in Colorado, where we're getting incredible results from the community there, and we're super popular. And it's because when you walk in, the rodeo experience is the rodeo experience. There's no difference. It's fun, it's art, it's entertainment. You can come into our lobby, you may see a balloon artist or a
oh,
face
cool.
painter with
Movie
all
theater.
movie theater. So it's this very lively environment. We're very engaging, and then we're ultra committed to service. You may have a birthday celebration. You come in and we'll shake our rodeo bells for your birthday. So we have a lot of fun, and I think when you have that kind of model, I've always said you can take it anywhere in the world. You can drop us anywhere in the world, and if we're committed to these things that we've got on the wall here, then the patients will show up.
Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that. Yeah, I noticed in the background, it's got the mission statement and you got your core values. It's a little blurry, but
Yeah, yeah. Sorry about that.
what are those?
Yeah, so you'll find these in every office. If you walk in, you have our mission key over here. Sorry, my Zoom is opposite. um, and then our core values here behind me on my left shoulder. And we have 9 core values. We hire by them. We review them. We've got them printed on these little cards that every
Nice.
employee carries on them every day. We review them in our morning huddle.
What are the core values?
So we've got 9. The first one is patient safety is paramount. You
Mm.
know, everything we do, we start with safety in our decision making. We're dealing with patients, kids. We want to make sure that is top of mind with regards to dentistry and the overall experience. The second one is one of my favorites. Patient experience sets us apart.
Ah,
Yeah, as you see on the website, what I talked about, what happens in the lobby, the birthday celebration, everything we do, we want to dominate in that realm of not just in the dental realm, but really as a company, setting aside a customer experience that's unique and really long lasting for people to recognize for the future. We're big on results. We have one that's called Tireless Pursuit of Results. Our commitment to excellence and training and how hard we work to get those results
mm.
and all the awards we've won as a result of that, I think speak for that. The other one is a tech above. Uh, that one's really cool. One of the things we made an investment in significantly starting in 2014 is our infrastructure in IT,
Mm.
software development, and applications that we've created to help power operations in the
Ah.
business. I would say, as a dental company, we are probably one of the most advanced when it comes to technology. And we made the investment there. We brought on our president, Ben Rouse, who has an extensive background in software and building software companies. So to date, we've got over 40 different apps that are specific to the company that help power the
Wow.
patient experience. We've got 500 different dashboards
40
that we
different apps. Are these actual like consumer facing apps that they download on their phone, or is this more like the IT backend that helps your systems integrate better together?
we're working on that first one on the
Okay.
consumer one. That's going to be the awesome piece. So that's in development, but really helping out. So front desk stuff that we
Okay.
can help create better efficiencies on patient intake, which will lead to less wait times, less phone time that they have to do on verifications,
Mm.
things like that. So anything that we can power efficiency in the journey of the patient, we're going to lean into and power the teams with.
Have you thought about licensing these to other dental companies, or is it just not worth it because it's like kind of your secret sauce to help your growth?
Yeah, it's a good question. We get that asked a lot. For now, no, we're not going to be licensing it because it's powering our growth. It's specific to Rodeo, and so as we're growing, that now down the future, sure, that could be. And that bottle right here over my shoulder,
Mhm.
that does say secret sauce on it. So
Nice. That's
that's the
funny.
Rodeo way.
Cool. Okay, was that I wasn't really keeping count. Was that all 9 of them?
No, no, no. I'll give you a couple of the fan favorites. So
Okay.
number 8 over there is Smile DNA. So one of the things we've coined as a company, we want to hire team members that have Smile DNA. So look, when you walk in, you meet somebody, it's that person that you meet that just kind of has that inherent ability when they're talking to you that they bring like a good energy.
Yeah.
We call that Smile DNA. And so team members
Mm.
that we bring on, we want Smile DNA. We're not looking for sort of the Eeyore mentality to walk
Doing the
out. You remember
Tiggers, not the
Eeyore?
Eeyores. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We don't want to work around that. So we want people with Smile DNA. And then the last one, super important, do the right thing.
Mm.
And so for us as a company, there's historic moments where we've stepped up in our commitment to giving back in the community, um, from the volunteer dental work and service that we do each year, hundreds of thousands of dollars we dedicate in time, energy, and funds to give back to the community. And just in our decision making from a compliance standpoint, or any moments where, hey, how are we going to treat this person in front of us? And are we going to do the right thing? And so that's built into the culture of the company, which I think is really powerful.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. And it's good. Like I'm sure having these upfront available, visible helps you guys in your screening process too a lot.
Yes, it does. And it holds us all accountable as a company, right? No person in the company is bigger than the brand itself. And I think that's important as we move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then what's the mission statement over there?
So the mission statement is, and it's based on that first story I talked about, where my experience in that first job, we wanted to change that dynamic. We wanted to get rid of any experiences like that in the community and dentistry. So our mission is to give every family the key to access high-end dentistry. And you see the key there that's hanging on that below it. It's a cool key, and it's got 5 ribbons underneath. And under those ribbons are our commitment to the community. One is under education. We're ultra committed to community outreach and educating our communities. So we're going to participate in schools, healthcare events, and really lean in from that perspective. We
Mm,
want to be the low cost provider because, look, we want to be affordable for our patients. And I think that's important to maintain
yeah.
as we serve. And so when you look at some of our stuff on our pricing on braces and things like that, we are absolutely the most affordable that's out there. And that's by default. We want to protect that ribbon at all costs. We're a one-stop shop. Everything under one roof is important. And then the piece in there that you see, that pink heart that we've got, we do pink heart awards each year for our team members, and the pink heart represents, how team members represent the mission day in and day out as they deliver care to the patients.
Mm, that's good. So, all right, I want to transition back to lease negotiations a little bit. So
Yeah,
at the
let's talk
time,
about it.
yeah,
Let's
at the
talk
time,
real estate.
2009, dentistry probably wasn't that sexy for a lot of these landlords, right? Have you seen like a shift in how you guys are perceived from then till now?
Absolutely. That's my first lease story, actually. I had this awesome center, man. I really wanted it, and we fought for it. It was just me and my partner, and we tried to go and get it, and we actually lost. Like, we
Mm.
lost out to, because, oh, you're just some rinky-dink dentist. It doesn't make sense. Why would you be in a shopping center? And they went for a big brand, and
Was it like a restaurant, or what kind of use ended up winning out?
it was a blockbuster.
That's
And
hilarious.
yeah, it's awesome. It's so okay, and it's funny you bring that up, because now landlords, like, we get calls all the time from
Yeah,
national players like, "Hey, we want you. We're incredible
especially
tenant."
post COVID, right?
Yeah, exactly. We From a healthcare perspective, we're a great tenant. We always deliver. We've never missed a rent payment in the history of the company, and so, from that standpoint, they love us, and we bring in a ton of traffic ourselves. We hold, you
Wow.
know, last year across the organization. I'm sorry, pre-COVID, so 2019, we had over 250,000 patient visits across the organization. This year, we'll have over 300,000
Wow.
patient visits across the organization. So, when you think about that and what you're bringing in terms of foot traffic, that's important. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not a grocery store, but I certainly think we're stronger than Payless shoes, for example, right? And no knock on them, but I'm just saying we bring a lot of traffic to these centers, and I think that's important to recognize. And now they do recognize that in a big way. So,
So are
funny
you
story is, we're now back in that center, the original one that I lost. We just opened a practice there last year, and so we were fired up about that. That
that's funny. And is it
we
doing
came
well?
home. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's great. But what's the anchor tenant there?
HEB, big HEB.
Like, how do you leverage like your footprint now or your success with lease negotiations? Like, what do you guys kind of push for?
I think it's important for us to get TI when we do a good
Mhm.
lease. We do have parameters and sort of guardrails around what we're willing to go to in terms of, the monthly price per square foot, things like that, that we'll look at in the budget and pro forma. And so we now have the model really set that we can stamp out. We know the size of the footprint we like. We know, the price per square footage. We know the amount of TI we're looking for, and we've sort of hit that great spot where we'll have a relationship with a strong national landlord, and they know now what we need, and so they'll sort of find those footprints for us and make it work.
Okay. And so you've got kind of like a group of people that know what you need and they help you find it.
I think it's important. I think
Yeah.
similar to what you all do in a great way, is finding that right partner, that real estate partner that can work with you and understand your model, understand the business, and then sort of bring you those different levels of spots that you're looking
Mm.
for. And then literally we'll go to a region. My partner will still go out there. He'll drive with the real estate partner, and they'll look at 10 different spots. They're in Colorado right now, and we'll narrow it down to three, and then pick, those best ones, and then move from there.
Yeah, no, that's really important. And like, we always coach people too. It's like, you want somebody, if you're working with a broker or a real estate expert or whatever, like you want someone who's an expert in your industry, because
Yes.
so many times it's like, oh yeah, it's a golfing buddy, or it's a cousin, or it's a stepbrother, and like you want to help them out. But it's like, you can help them out in a lot of other ways besides one that's going to hurt your practice. And we just quantify having an expert in that industry as somebody who's done at least 10 deals, right? Because that
Yep.
way you just kind of know what to look for, because they're all different. I mean, like, dentistry is so different than restaurants, is so different from fitness or whatever it is.
I think what you guys do is pretty cool too, and we have done a couple deals like that where uh, we'll bring in a real estate partner, actually build the location out, and there's some really good advantages to that.
Yeah.
If you can find the right partner, if they can build it well, understand the model, and in that sense, you can kind of own the real estate and also um, build the practice up. And I think there's some tremendous advantages to that in terms of saving capital costs and things like
Mhm.
that could really benefit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And now I was going to ask you that question too. Do you guys ever, like, do you have a preference for buying or leasing? Obviously, it sounds like you lease the majority of the times, but do you ever, purchase your locations or self-develop?
Everything we've done, it's a super good question, right? Like we make the decision based on the location and success of the practice.
Mm.
So where those two instances where we actually partner with a developer to build was because we literally could not get into the preferred
Oh,
center. And so for us, we're like, okay, let's think flexible, think flexibility. We can't get in the center. There's nothing around it. Well, what can we do? Hey, and we got introduced to a developer, and they said, hey, we can develop it. We'll build it. You save cap X costs, and you'll have some ownership. And so it's a win-win for
cool.
everybody.
And so are you co-investing with them? Are they giving you a
Yes,
piece of ownership?
both.
Okay.
We did both on each one.
So you're kind of doing a little bit of the general partner side and
Yeah.
the limited partner side.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's smart. And so, are these like new, like empty pads that you developed, or are they just
Yes. They
vacant
were.
buildings that they bought?
They were. Both were. One was a building. The other one was an empty pad.
Yeah. And
Yep.
are those working out well for you guys?
Yeah, they're awesome. The spots are doing really well. Patients love it. I mean, they built out beautifully. So I think, in an environment like we're in today, where if you're thinking about growing and growing quickly, and, when you're fighting against things like inflation and
Lots of
rising
inflation right
costs,
now.
right? Rising costs everywhere. Typically, what I was able to have to spend on CapEx has now gone up. So I think you have to, as an entrepreneur, come up with creative ways to be able to make those funds last as long as possible,
Mhm.
so that you can grow in an efficient way.
Yeah, it's a good point about hedging against inflation from the practice owner standpoint, because it's like, usually I get it. When you have a limited amount of capital, we all do, every business, even Microsoft, even Bill Gates, all those guys. But you get a better return when you're when you're investing in your practices versus like investing in the real estate, right? Like if that's not your core competency, like the returns are just going to be less.
Yep.
And so usually that's why it just makes sense to lease, because then you can continue to grow faster. But also at the same time, like you said, it is a hedge against inflation, because if you are leasing the building, I mean, we have a heavy inflationary environment, like say hypothetically, the Fed printing 30% of all the dollars that have ever been printed in the last 14 months, right? Hypothetically.
Yep. Yep.
And you're creating inflation, then your leases are subject to those advances, right? If you own the building, your debt service, that's not going to change. That's locked in for the next 20, 30 years, whatever it is. So yeah, it's an interesting concept. There's not a one size fits all. It really is situational. And so yeah, I think it's just good to look at it through that lens. You really have to decide what's best for your business, what's best for your practice.
Totally agree. And look, for us looking ahead over the next, 12, 24 months, we're really thinking flexibly. We're going to be open
Mhm.
to both, and exploring both options.
Yeah, no, that's great. And yeah, I'd love to continue talking about that with you, but I wanted to come back a little bit to the mentor part of it. Like, I thought that was interesting that you brought that up, because I was just listening to a podcast called Masters of Scale with Reid Hoffman. He's the co-founder of LinkedIn. Are
Yeah,
you
yeah,
familiar?
yeah,
Okay, yeah. So he's got a really good podcast that I like to listen to, and he had Alex Rodriguez on the show, and they were just talking about the value of mentors. And so they talked a lot about how it's a mutually beneficial relationship a lot of times, because you do have a mentor and a mentee per se, but the mentor is always learning from the mentee. And it sounds like in this case, your mentor was Dr. K. And how did you like come about finding him? And like, how important do you think that was for your growth?
Yeah, my partner Rolf, he's amazing. So I certainly consider him one, but also my mentor, Dr. Dorfman, as well.
Sorry, Dr. Dorfman. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, no, for sure. So Dr. Dorfman, literally, I emailed him. So in the height of at UCLA, when I'd come back, I'd failed this business. All my friends, at the age of 20, 21, 22, when your peers move up 2 years ahead of you and you've lost 2 years, it's like your world's crushed, right? You have all this sort of insecurity, and you're just not feeling good, right, about the experience. And so this was at the height of the show Extreme Makeover. I'm working with my dad. I'm like, hey, I see this dentist on TV. He's local in Beverly Hills. I'm just going to email him and see if he responds and say, hey, can I come watch you for a day? I just want to learn. Like, I was like, if that guy's the top in the industry, I want to learn from that person. And I thought, I'm not going to hear back. I get an email back the next day, and I was like, dang, like he actually responded, which was cool. Came
Wow.
in, got to see this, like, this practice was run. I mean, it's incredibly efficient and excellent. I mean, you want to talk about service dedication. They're dealing with customers that you better deliver, otherwise, it's not going to be good for the practice. So saw that experience, and then what happened was, he was about to go speak in Europe, and he was carrying this suitcase full of those old school Kodak carousel slides. I don't know if you remember that, but presentations used to be done on slides. Like,
Oh, yeah.
remember those little, like,
You put them in like the projector kind of thing, and then
remember the
like,
projector, and then you click, and then it turns, and
oh
then
wow.
and I'm
You know
like,
what? I've never seen one in person, only like in movies.
what I'm saying. So he was carrying, this is in 2001, 2000. He was carrying two big suitcases full of 3,000 slides on
Wow.
all these different little carousels. I'm like, dude, I can help you make that digital. Like, I think I can. I'm like, I really didn't know how at the time, but I was like, I feel like I could. This just
Right.
looks like a struggle. And he's like, okay, I've tried with a bunch of people, but go for it, kid. Let's see what you got. So I went and spent 2 weeks. I studied all the different conversions and actually found out that converting high-end digital slide is actually really, really hard from a photography
Oh,
standpoint.
but you had to do it at this stage because
I
you
had
had
to do it. I was
gold.
like, hey, I could do this. And I mean, I went to Kinko's. They're like, this is too complicated. So I actually spent all my savings and bought the best, with like $3,000 high
Wow.
end converters, and did it a bunch. Spent a couple all nighters with a buddy of mine, just knocking this out. Showed him the product. First time, he's like, this is not good enough for my quality. Nice try. See you later. Went back and did it again with a better quality one. Came
Wait,
back.
you spent $3,000 on a
Yes.
machine to process it, and then you had to what? Did you have to sell it? Did you have to change
I,
it?
I was lucky enough I could return it,
Wow.
but I had to buy a new one. And
Even more expensive?
yes, and and so I went to him and I was like, man, if this guy says no to this, like, I'm done. Like, career done, everything's done. I'm just
All your
quitting it.
money is in this. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
putting everything in this basket.
And he looked at it. He's like, all right, this will work. You can come build the rest of these with me. And from that set a 3-year sort of
Wow.
internship with him, where
Wow.
I got to do all his presentations. I got to see him work both at conferences, in the practice. He was working on all these different TV shows, Extreme Makeover, the MTV Osborne. I mean, he was doing it all, and he's a beast in his own right.
Wow, that's crazy. And there's so many
Yeah.
lessons in that, right? It's like a lot of times we just feel sort of a sense of entitlement. Like if we're going to give you our time, we want something in return. But it's like in this situation, you could have, I'm guessing you'd have never imagined the upside that would have happened, or maybe you did, but you came
No,
in.
no way.
Yeah. I mean, you
I,
came in, you sacrificed not only your time, but you invested your money, like you said, all of your savings just to impress this one guy. And I think so few people do that. And I'm glad that I asked about it because that's such a good life lesson to like sacrifice that much for a person that you value as a mentor that's worth looking up to and teaching you stuff.
It really was a life-changing moment. Here's what's crazy about it. When I think about that story in particular, if you look back at my trajectory in life, that ended up catapulting me to go to Pacific, which was his alma mater. And he's like, you got to go to dental school there. My interview at dental school with 10 other people, one of them was my future wife, right? At the
Wow.
time, like you look back, I mean, she didn't recognize me that day, but like we interviewed together on the same day, which is crazy. And I met my two partners in Dr. Brian Degoni and Dr. Mansour in that class. And so you just think of all of those things that put you in the right place, just from a decision you made. And so, yeah, it is. I appreciate that a lot, that experience.
Wow, yeah, that's so crazy. And so yeah, that just goes to show you the importance of mentors. And I think there's always somebody that could be mentoring you in some area, because we never have it all figured out in life, right? It's like
Yeah.
your business could be taking off, but then all of a sudden your marriage needs work, right? Because you neglected it. Or maybe those are great, but your fitness is down. And so it's like, yeah, there's always a need for a mentor in some capacity. And I think it's always a good thing just to be a mentor to somebody else too.
I do. We one of the things we're committed to is a program called Leap. So actually, Dr. Dorfman puts this program on now annually. 500 students from around the world come to UCLA for a week, and these
Wow.
are high school students and first year college. And the whole program is about how to be successful in life outside of just studying and reading books. So they talk about mentorship, how
Oh,
to
cool.
find a mentor, how to create a mastermind group. They're teaching these young kids at 14, 15, 16 years old to create successful mastermind groups and find mentors.
Wow.
And so I'm a part of that. I support it. We actually send students every year from Rodeo to go to this program, from some of the underserved communities that we're a part of. So I agree, man. That's a big thing we got to teach our youth for the future.
That's great, man. Well, there's been so many valuable lessons on here. I mean, from site selection to lease negotiations to finding mentors, it's been awesome. So if anybody, I don't know if they have a question, for you or maybe for Rodeo, what would be a good way for them to kind of reach out or
Yeah,
get in
man.
touch or
Shoot
learn
me an
more?
email. It's really easy. It's just Saam SAAM at rodeodental.com. Saam SAAM at rodeodental.com. That's my first name.
Awesome.
Fire it away. I'll respond. It's my duty to. I do it like Dr. Dorfman did to me. So
Wow.
I got to pay it forward.
Paying it forward. Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool, man. Yeah, this has been great.
Thank you, man. Hey, thank you for all the work bringing together some incredible leaders in the community. You guys are doing awesome in the dental field. I was listening to the other podcasts, and
Oh, cool.
for anybody out there, I highly recommend listening to these podcasts. Austin's doing an amazing job, and I'm a big supporter.
Wow, I appreciate that.